Hello, everyone. Albatross here, and I want to bring you my thoughts, opinions, my musings, if you will, on the Brimstone Sands release notes for New World. For those that don't know, Brimstone Sands, the accompanying patch will be hitting on October 18th at 5 a.m. PST. For me, that is later this morning. So get buckled in. It's finally happening. First things first, we'll see Brimstone skins coming out, like I said, and we'll see the Ennead hitting, which is in this pyramid right here on the screen. Very cool, super fancy. Got a floating little pyramid on top of the big pyramid. This is its baby. That's canonical. You're welcome for that. Furthermore, this is the thing I'm most excited about. We'll see a completely revamped starting experience. I very much enjoy this in the PTR. I think it's a great step in the right direction. You feel a lot more engaged in the story. You feel like an active participant instead of just someone that's gotten thrown into it and you kind of get railroaded along. It's a lot more adaptive. You feel like you're actually contributing to the world around you, and it's great. I'm very happy with this. I hope that they keep this up and keep revamping the old main story. Let's see, the Nightville Hollow. This is just the Halloween event. Please note that if you plan on just playing Fresh Start, this event will be ending on November 1st, which means that if you want these skins, if you want any of the rewards from this event, you will need to play before Fresh Starts hit. It will not be happening when Fresh Starts come out. Next big thing is the Great Sword. It is the newest weapon to enter the armory for New World players. It's a big freaking sword. You whack people with it. You slash people with it. You bonk them. Great time. The biggest thing that I can compare it to is that it feels a lot like King Arthur in Smite. It's very weighty. Lots of flashy abilities. The sound effects, as always with New World, are just great. New World has some of the best sound design out of any game I've played to date. Great time. Feels good. There have been some concerns about its balance. Some people feel that it's a little bit too strong. I think that they've taken steps to mitigate this. They've taken off some grit with abilities. I think it should be in a much better spot, at least compared to before. Next big thing is Heart Gems. This is your ultimate ability in New World, which will be hitting with the Brimstone Sands patch. We have, what is this, 5? Yeah, 5 different special abilities that you'll be able to add on to your kit. Give yourself some extra customization in your build. This should kind of help with build diversity and make things a little bit more interesting as to how the game feels. If you want to know more about these, it will probably end up being its own video. Once that is done, there'll be a link somewhere up here on the screen. Feel free to check it out. I always appreciate it. If not, there's plenty of other content creators that make great content that I'm sure you can find out what it means if you don't already know yourself. Next thing on the docket that I want to talk about, Hardy buff being nerfed is kind of cool. This is long overdue. Hardy is incredibly powerful, and this is quite nice. The next thing I want to talk about is the quality of life change we're seeing to XP. This is massively impactful for either new players or players that are planning on playing on the Fresh Start servers. After level 20, it will be much easier to hit the higher levels and get to level 60 with a 160% reduction from the XP needed to get to level 45. Or sorry, to get from level 45 to level 60. That is massively impactful, and it should feel a lot quicker hitting that max level. Additionally, town boards have been thrown in the trash. They're no longer worth it. I would not recommend doing them. If you want standing, or if you want to help improve a town, go for it, but they are not worth the XP anymore. Massive shame. I'm quite bummed about this. I enjoyed the town board. I thought it was quite fun, but I can acknowledge that it might have been a little bit too easy to level up before, and that's fair. Biggest thing is that they've kind of reshuffled this XP away. They've taken it off of town board and they moved it onto more active pursuits, which I think is quite fair. Things like gathering, finding lore notes, faction missions, etc. now will provide a lot more XP than it did before. I want to point out that corrupted portals have been buffed have been buffed by 150%. For those that don't know, on launch, this was a big way people used to get XP. I would also point out that Azoth used to be a lot more valuable, but with the fast travel costs getting reduced so significantly, this is a lot less important. I think that people will still prioritize doing them for XP, but because the Azoth costs have been reduced so much, they feel less required to do. Which I think is quite fair. Just Corrupted Portal running is probably going to be quite good. Find a group, get that XP. Otherwise, main story quests, side quests will probably be the way to go. That's the way I'm going to do it. When the launch of Fresh Start servers happen, I'm going to be hitting up those side quests and those main quests. Big XP. Next thing I want to talk about is updates to AI. Now, if you look through here with me, we'll see a lot of grit being removed from attacks, as well as a lot of staggers being removed from attacks. I will all take you back to how New World used to be. Okay, it would be quite frustrating when you would get staggered constantly by enemies and having none of your staggers work because all the enemies' abilities, all their attacks, have grit. Theoretically, this should be happening either way less or not anymore. It should feel quite good to fight enemies now, at least quite a bit better. It should also help with solo content, because New World up until this point has not been the greatest experience for a solo player. You often need to have a group to be able to perform late game endeavors like elite zones, dungeons, etc. Dungeons will still need players, but you get what I mean. Like, it'll be a lot more accessible for people to find solo ways to progress, which I think is very healthy for the game. The game needs to have a nice balance between solo activities and group activities, not just group activities. It'll be quite good. Additionally, with a lot of this grit being removed from PvE, I could definitely see Spear seeing a slight nerf from this without really intending it necessarily, because Spear gets a modifier for things that have grit. It's like 20% extra damage on attacks if you have one of the passives ticked. Worth considering. One more thing before I move on. Corrupted Tendrils are getting nerfed again. Corrupted Tendrils suck. They're awful. I'm so happy about this. They're so obnoxious, and they deserve to live in the dumpster. Let me know in the comments if you also hate Corrupted Tendrils. They're the tentacle thingies. And you may be wondering, is this how you do tentacle thingies in sign language? Yes. The next thing I want to talk about is a change that I feel is long overdue. Riposte is finally getting smacked with the nerf hammer. This is huge, huge, huge nerf to Riposte that I think is it's just so good. It feels incredible to read this. Riposte is having its animation reduced so that you are immune for less amount of time. It is having the homing on the stun attack, the little punch it does, be reduced so it's more difficult to hit multiple people. And it's having the AoE effect being reduced as well. So again, it's harder to hit multiple people. This is fantastic. Riposte is so free in the current branch of the game that I think this is going to be a lot better for how Riposte should feel. It should be a very skill-based thing, not a I'm going to stand here for 3 seconds and you can't hit me thing. This is very, very, very good change. This also kind of goes in line with how I've talked about Rapier here in this example. They intend for it to be very much a stay in the fight and reposition around people, use that mobility to get advantage type of thing, not a haha, I have a rapier and a life staff, I'm going to run from you and go heal my team. Good luck with that. So great change, step in the right direction. I'm excited to see how this will work out going. We're now seeing staggering changes to how territory ownership is going to work. Let's walk through it here. So first of all revenue across all territories, this is my interpretation of it, please correct me if I'm wrong, is going to be pooled into one big pile of money, right? And then from that point, this big pile of money is going to be distributed amongst all the companies that own territories on a server, which means that owning Windsward and Everfall will no longer be the end-all be-all of everything. Someone will finally take Morningdale and embrace it in their arms. Finally be worth something. Morningdale, I miss you. I want you to be good. It's time. Morningdale will rise. Quite happy about it. Additionally, taxes are now capped. Companies can no longer customize these. Now be capped at 1% for housing, etc. You can read this on the screen. Additionally, the taxes are now scaled better to where people won't just sit behind breakpoints in order to save a buck. This should be a lot better for the game. Actually encourage people to level up their towns and keep progressing it going forward. Very, very nice. I'm quite happy about this. This should help solve the gold inflation problem that is plaguing live servers when fresh starts hit. I think this change is going to help all versions of the game, but fresh starts especially will feel this once we start progressing past the initial stages of the fresh start launch. Now we probably have the biggest change in these patch notes aside from content that I think you can find on this document. Named items that used to drop between 500 and 600 gear score, tier 5 items, named items, now will always drop 590 plus gear score. Which means that the dungeon grind and the grind for specific items, once people start hitting 60 on fresh start, will be huge. It'll be so impactful to have access to these items, and it'll also mean that it feels much better when you get these named items while you're trying to increase your expertise. It should make things a lot more exciting, and it should hopefully actually give value to these items more, to where you actually feel really good about getting, you get that dopamine hit to make you keep wanting to play. Quite good for AGS as well. I think this is going to help a lot with making these dungeons, making these drops feel better. Last but not least, for all my gatherers out there, myself included, life skills rise up, we have a big change into how the breakpoints for life skill levels will affect what you can and cannot gather. Now, for those that remember from launch, Ironwood, for example, was locked behind logging 175. Now, if you wanted to hit logging 175, that entailed mindlessly chopping trees for 10 to 15 hours until you finally made it to 175, and then once you started chopping ironwood, you hit 200 in about 15 minutes. The differential in XP just felt so off. It was very strange. This should help with that, as we're seeing a reduction down from 175 to 150 across the board for tier 5 materials. Wire fiber, orichalcum, and ironwood are all seeing that change. Very nice. Additionally, it feels that logging, especially overall, has been evened out quite a bit. Gone are the days of those 15 hours that I mentioned. It should feel a lot more consistent. As you go, the numbers will increase, and you'll feel a lot more value from chopping those trees early on. A very good change. Lodestone is now down as well. This is going to be big. People will now be able to start hitting that lodestone at mining 75 as opposed to 105. Pretty big deal. Also worth considering, aloe gel, which will occur in Brimstone Sands, works in the place of hyssop, I've been told. So that'll feel quite nice, I think. I'm quite excited. Anyway, there we have it on my favorite parts of the Brimstone Sands release notes. I've been Albatross. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. If you enjoyed this discussion, or if you want to see more of my content, I'll be streaming the New World Fresh Start on November 2nd when it comes out. I'm very excited. We're going to be going really hard. Going to be getting them gains. I'm quite excited. Before then, if you just want to talk about the patch notes, we'll talk about New World, about strategy games, anything like that, I'm live most days. Feel free to come say hi at twitch.tv/albatrossop. Otherwise, thank you all for watching. See you again next time.